everyone. This is again Parken, and welcome to another bookish video. It's been a while since I had my last vlog that was actually in the year 2022, and now I'm back on track. For today's vlog, I'm going to present the thing that I should have done in back in the year 2022 as it ended. Yes, I knew. I'm fully aware that this is too late, but I always adhere to the idea that it's better to do it now than never at all. Okay, anyway, in view of what I mentioned, anyway, the year 2022, I already have collated all my top 10 reads to be presented right now with two honorable mentions. I believe that these two special books, which I considered honorable mentions, also deserve to be shared. Okay, because I want you to read them as well, even if they don't belong to my top 10 reads here. Okay, yeah. But of course, for the top 10 reads, these are the books that I'll be pressing on you because I love them so much. Yes, not all of the 10 books actually received 5 stars from me, but majority of them, I rated them 5 stars. Now, without any further ado, let's begin. For today's video, anyway, this is done live and impromptu. That's why you can watch this video without any pauses. Okay, now allow me to present here on screen the presentation I made, so you get to see as well the cover of the books and at the same time some fun arts that I gathered online. Yes, so just to give you the heads up, I also take credits to those people who really own these arts. Now, for the top 10 reads, as I said earlier, those are only books that were published in the year 2022. Most of them, but there are also some books here, which I read, way back 2010 onwards, and there are some classics as well here. You will see them. Now, yes, here it is. It's taking a while. Yeah. Yes, presenting my top 10 reads for the year 2022. Okay. Yes. Before I give, of course, my top reads, I'll be presenting the honorable mentions that I was referring to a while. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me present the two honorable mentions. The first book here is written by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Carrie Soto is back. That was written in the year 2022, just last year. Okay, now, as someone who has a penchant for tennis, since I became a sports editor when I was in college, in our publication, I'm overjoyed that we now have an action-packed book with specific sport as its main theme or content. Reading this literary fiction, in fact, is like spectating a live tennis game. I cheered, I threw my brouhajas, and even held my breath as the heat actually of the game got more intense. The character is Carrie Soto, as I mentioned a moment ago, and that's the name you can see here in the cover. This character-driven novel centers the life of the tennis player, world famous, in fact, who would like to take back her pride after her world record title has been snatched by one of the younger character here named Pinky Chan. That's the premise actually of the book. Her preparation for her bout with a new title, allowed her to discover some more about herself and also of other people that surround her. This is something that made my eyes teary. At the same time, I was holding my breath because of some events that really require me to do so. There are certain events actually that will allow you to feel that way. The whole time I was always actually giving my sympathy on Carrie's dad. You know him, yes, Javier. Don't take it personally, but he is the type of father I wanted to have. He always, takes care of Carrie or Carrie. Yes. She might be old already, but the father figure in him, wasn't removed. He still is a father to to Carrie Soto. I have mixed feelings towards Carrie, to be honest. I hated her because of the way she treated people around her, especially her dad. She's a bitch in a good way, though. Most of her time here, she's bitch, although it's very reasonable. She was, called in fact battle axe, and she wasn't called this way, for nothing. I like her because she's fierce and persistent at the same time. Okay, her determination is oozing, and of course, she might be very ambitious, and who isn't? In today's world, we need to be ambitious to get something that we deserve as we believe. Okay, so that's my first honorable mention. The second one here is this one is We Spread, written by Ayn Rand. Mhm. If my memory serves me right, this is the first fiction that I read where all the main characters are adults or old individuals. And honestly, it has given me mixed feelings. It made me feel in love. Yes, it confused me. And most of all, it feared me of the unknown of what is in store when I grow old. It really speaks volumes about my fears of the unknown. Unbeknown to some, I am the type of person who's afraid of uncertainties in the future. So reading this novel was both traumatic and fulfilling. We Spread is about the life of an aged woman named Penny, as well as of the other residents who are also older individuals in Six Cedars, a long-term care residence. She's surrounded by, the artifacts and the memorable things that remind her of her long existence. She is resigned to the humdrum rituals of adulthood until things start to slip. Her growing feelings towards her peers or the people in the same facility allow her to discover the manipulations and the oppressive rules inside the four walls that keep them away from what is happening in the real world or in the realities outside. It's a rare occurrence that I felt romantic excitement with the love stories, or shall I say, flirtations of two old individuals. I was smiling the whole time when I read it. Yes, and it brings so much sweet memories. I even played kahit mabuti na ang buhok ko, or if it's actually translated in English, even if my hair turns white, I was feeling in a blue and at the same time in a cloud nine. It's a mixed emotion, to be honest. Yes, this way, um, I would love to press this on you, especially if you are someone who is afraid of the unknown. Yes, this is really a relief if you're really, are afraid of what is coming in the future. Okay, now those are the two honorable mentions that I included here in my presentation. But now, without any further ado, let me present my top 10 reads. My top 10 here starts from something that is not really my cup of tea. I'm not really fan of this specific genre, but because I was actually surprised by the title of the book, it piqued my interest. I picked this. Okay, so this one is "I'm Glad My Mom Died" by Janet McCurdy. That's my top one here. First off, I want to commend the author of her bravery in sharing her experiences by writing her own story. I wouldn't do that if I were in her shoes for two reasons. Yes, that's what I realized after reading this book. First, I'm afraid that people would judge me for everything I did in the past. Yes, who would love to unravel the skeleton in the closet, especially if this is the secret that you're very ashamed to share. Secondly, I didn't want to feed my family's drama and sensitive issues, especially my parents, on the reading public. But Janet McCurdy, with no holds barred, told in her book her complicated relationship with her overbearing mother, as well as her controversial issues with some big names in showbiz industry, such as Ariana Grande in Nickelodeon. You might have the same prejudice as I had when reading the title, "I'm Glad My Mom Died," but please give Jenny the chance to read, to read her story and be prudent in understanding her experiences with her loved ones, especially with her mom. To give you a little background about the author, Jeanette Michelle Faye McCurdy is an American writer, director, or now podcaster, singer, and former actress. In the aforementioned programs that I had a moment ago, that I said a moment ago. Mhm. I'm not really a fan of autobiography, as I said earlier, but this one, really made me consider this book genre. Maybe I have to read other books as well written by the author themselves. Mhm. That's my top 10. Now, for my top 9. The top 9 here is, of course, my genre, and this is fantasy. And this one is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. I've read already the first, the second, the third book, but this one, it was read only in the year 2022. Okay. The Black Prism didn't quite catch the vibe when I first read it a few months. Yes, pass. That's why I postponed reading this and just continue immersing into its lore, just in the year 2022, probably December, yes, as far as I can remember. The story takes place in a corrupt land divided into seven satrapies, where magic is the overriding avenue to power. To prove way for the new dawn of darkness and power, the typical custom, tradition, or even politics in those satrapies are set to be annihilated. And that can be done, in fact, by wiping out their population. War is brewing, and the prism who holds the most powerful magic will do everything he can for the new dawn of darkness to fall. This book is among of the many fantasy tropes that I like because of its amazing magic system, wonderful world building, and solid set of characters. There is somewhat confusion in the first few chapters, as I was still clueless what's going around and where's the story heading to. Honestly, I felt down how the magic system works, since it was too early when I was bombarded with vast information about Luxon, drafting, freeing, and many more magic system. It was just when I got back to this book that I realized the author gave us first the general information in the beginning, but later, he did it in a methodical manner. Yes, he explained it in such a way you will get to understand the magic system. As a matter of fact, it's giving me a Brandon Sanderson vibe. The magic system here is not soft; it's a hard magic system. Okay, that's for my top 9. Now, for my top 8, this one here is, of course, this is also my favorite, novel in the year 2022. Yes, and this, in fact, is my top 8. Jade War. Jade War is in fact the second book of the Greenbone saga. The first one here is in fact Jade City. Yes, this second book of Greenbone saga has a lot of redeeming qualities, ranging from character development to world building, which extends outside the border of Pecan. The title caught me off guard in a good way because I was expecting of clashes between clans, for Jade, but instead it's war between nations, which sprung from small to huge resentment. This is a good book for someone who likes to learn about geopolitics in an entertaining manner. Okay. Now for my top 7 here is Kai Kaye by Vaishnavi Patel. Okay. So this book, is based on um, Indian literature, Ramayana. Yes. Uh-huh. In fact, when I read this book, it felt like I was in a seventh heaven to have picked up a book which has given me immense satisfaction after reading it. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now. As I finish reading one of the beautifully crafted reimagining of Ramayana epic in the voice of the infamous and eponymous villain in Indian literature. Who would forget the name of the wicked queen? Kai Kaye might be the name one will probably loathe to see in books, but here in Vaishnavi's retelling, a reader will see that queen in different lands. In fact, part of my word literature subject or studies when I was in college was Ramayana. And while my fondness in this literary classic never ceases, It has somewhat changed my views on certain aspects, especially on how Kaikeye was antagonized in the real literary account. But here, it was actually a very different story. Vaishnavi Patel's reimagination in the life of Kaikeye, I got to understand her and even empathize to her more than I did to Rama. It has totally changed how I see her as an entity who brought destructions to Hikaya and Kusala in the original story. Yes, I really, really would like to give my two thumbs up to the author, Vaishnavi Patel, for doing it, in a Finese manner. It changed my view on the word literature. Well, it might be just her interpretation, but everything she said really, really made sense. Now, for my sixth book or the top six book in the year 2022 is what we call, yes, Before They Are Hung, which is in fact the second book of the First Law trilogy. Those with the least always lose the most in war. This quote actually, from that book is quite the opposite that best describe what I thought about this one in a nutshell. Before They Are Hung is the second installation, which is filled to the brim with physically and morally disfigured character whom the readers would probably love despite all that. The much loved main characters from the Blade itself continued their journey and even proved themselves worthy of every reader's commendation. Special mention to my consistently morally gray favorite character, Glocta. He never failed to amaze me. His inner voice remains in my mind even up to now. There's the kind of voice in the particular story that actually cannot get out of your mind after reading this book for quite like weeks. Because you will really feel what the character of Block is, what personality he has. Mhm. Yeah, I've also done reading its conclusion. Yes, the last argument of the kingdoms, and overall the whole series was fantastic. This is one of the best fantasy series that I've read in my whole life. Okay, now down to the top five or number five. Yes, this one was written by Mark Lawrence, The Girl and the Stars. I read already The Girl and the Stars and the second book, The Girls in the Mountain. And I'm, you know, going to read the third book probably next month. Yes. Mhm. I couldn't hold my excitement to share my thoughts on this book, obviously. My imagination ran wild with this one, and I've never loved an amazing world building. Yes, of course, except those made or created by Brandon Sanderson. As much as I love the one in this book, everything about the Girl in the Stars is fantastic. The reason why I didn't hesitate to give it a 5-star rating. The other series written by the same author, the Book of the Ancestor, and this one, the Book of the Ice, are set in the same world, but they are two separate stories. I haven't been vocal with my astonishment with a planet called Abet, created by Mark Lawrence, even in one of my blogs last year. I might be harping this on the same string, but wow, he didn't just tell us what this world looked like, but he let us feel how it was like to be living there. One would freeze to death, and the thought of living in a place sheeted with ice and heat was unfamiliar touch or feel. To those planning to read this book as their first Mark Lawrence, I advise that you read the Book of the Ancestors so you'd really, really appreciate, the world even more as soon as you embark on The Girl and the Stars. Now, down to my top four. Yes. Aha. I, in fact, made my entire blog on the Mistborn era too. Yes, I'm going to include the link to my review on the entire series Mistborn era 2 here. Okay, now my top four here is The Lost Metal, which was just published last year. Damn, this conclusion to Mistborn era 2 saga was a blast. Yes, it's both literally and figuratively a blast, an explosive convergence of the planets into smear universe whose characters come together for a great cause, and an ending that might crush your heart to pieces because of the literal blast of events. Brandon Sanderson gathered all his energy and creativity to make the conclusion of Wax and Wayne a grandeur. Some might have been fed up by the too complicated convergences of these novels, but it still holds true that this feature is what makes him pure genius. Now, to my top three. Okay, this one, I always talk about this with my friends, written by R.F. Kuang, Babel. Yes, an arcane history. Some of you may have known the biblical account regarding the Tower of Babel, or how do you pronounce it, Babel. But to give you a heads up, this much awaited novel is not about how the popular ancient edifice collapsed and spread the languages all over the world, but it's just a literary tool metaphorically used by the author to convey her message in an artistic and engaging manner. This thought-provoking and entertaining masterpiece crafted by the brilliant imagination of R.F. Kuang underscores the powerful use of language and translation to dominate the nations all over the world. Oxford University prides itself with a towering facility of knowledge that encapsulates the resources more important than material wealth. Babel can either be a source of information to solve several common plights of striving economies, or it can be a tool to exploit them to the British Crown's advantage. You know what? I was in doubt after reading this book because I could sense that this book could be one of the books that will be banned in that particular country, Britain. Why? Because it mentions about the ills and at the same time the injustices in the particular country. I highly recommend this book for people who do not have much penchant in fiction and prefer nonfiction resource materials, specifically for professors teaching English subjects. Yes, Babel is a good reference if they want to teach translations, syntax, stylistics, linguistics, etymology, morphology, and any other language discipline. Yes, that's why I always tell my friend that this book is really quite a fiction and non-fiction at the same time. Yes, it's a fusion because not only you are entertained, you're also learning certain information about language, especially on translation. Now, down to my top two. My top two here is dun, 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 dun. This one here is written by Stephen King, Fairy Tale. You know what? I've read some Stephen King books, mostly horror, and there's no doubt why he is the master storyteller of our time. This year, or the year 2022, he has a different menu with flavorsome stories served for all readers, irrespective of their preferences. Granting you're in a fine dining restaurant and would love to eat a few selection that could fully satiate your rumbling stomach, fairy tale seems to be the item that could give you the same experiences or experience. Fairy tale follows the story of Charlie Reed, who, after helping a recluse man with a big dog living in the antiquated Victorian house, is set for a dangerous quest. When that old man named Mr. Bowditch dies, he inherits his wealth to Charlie, which includes a massive amount of gold. But with those valuable items is a cassette tape that tells Charlie of the big responsibility set upon his shoulder as well. Within the shell of the mysterious house is a portal to another world where he is set to take his adventure to save the kingdom Mr. Bowditch promised to save through someone, he is sure can fulfill it. Yes, in the parallel universe where two moons is once in a blue moon and the towering palace pierces the cloud, Charlie is set to save exiled royalties and even has to face bloody and deadly skirmishes to entertain the puppet of the evil force locked in the depth of the evil infested well in the parallel world that we have. I really, really commend Stephen King for making this book a very fantastic one. Always his books are very fantastic, but this one, it blew me away. I was blown away after reading the book. Yes, not sugarcoating, but it's really real. I press it on you if you love to read a combination of adventure and horror at the same time. Yes. And now, finally, As to my top one or my best book for the year 2022 is, dun, 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 yes, The First Binding by R.R. Bearde. The first binding has given me, in fact, the name of the wind meets Arabian Nights vibe. And since these books are always at the top of the list, insofar as my favorite books are concerned, there is no reason at all to keep my fascination with this new fantasy. Yes, this is in fact a series. Mhm. Heavens above, I found another gem. I'm now counting down the days for the sequel to be finally out. What I love about this book the most is its world building. Yes, the book is inspired by some lures in South Asian countries. I was able to easily imagine how the world created by the brilliant author looked like. From the hot and humid desert in Abhar to the snowy land of Ampur, one can imagine the difficulties of Ari, the main character, in journeying from one place to another in search for the answer to his greatest quest in life. With some of his friends and acquaintances along the way, they brace up a number of threats along the way, of course. If I look back to the time when I read this book, I would say that that journey, in fact, requires strength, endurance for you to reach the destination. You know, not to mention, of course, the villainous character that awaits, the main character that we have in that academy. Mhm. The first binding, in fact, has the description that was on point. It's vivid in such a way that the author did not just tell us what it's like there. Instead, Verdi showed us how it felt to be living in the world he created, an empire ruled by some power, thirst, nobility. Yes, they are rude, and at the same time, they are very power thirst, greed, right? Really, really reign in their hearts. Yes. He also faced lots of people along the way, like street criminals, urchins, and destitute, surviving and getting with the ebb and flow of life, in that particular kingdom. Yes. So there's no doubt this book remains to be my top one. Yes. Yes, I do hope that you will also try reading all these books that I am recommending you. Yes. And how about you? What are the top 10 books that you had in the year 2022? Yes. Care to share it? Write it in the comment section. Again, this is Clark, and should there be any uh, questions or clarification you'd like to ask about the book, just send me a private message. Or if you want, you can just write your comment here. Okay. Again, this is Clark Kent. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Clark Kent, and push the notification bell if you want to, be abreast of time about my regular vlogs. Thank you so much, and have a good day.